Okay, so my name is Ashima. I will be conducting, teaching, correcting everything in the class. So the class caters to English, and English is divided into three parameters. A is comprehension, when you will have fiction and non-fiction passages, which is the child is required to read, understand, and answer accordingly. Now, what do we focus when we are doing comprehensions in class? So whenever we are doing any comprehension, it's always done in the form of a class discussion. We will discuss each and every element pertaining to the answer, and we have a habit of, marking our answers in the comprehension, and so that we can work upon how we are framing it. If you spot the kids writing FR or FRQ in a answer, that means they need to frame this completely. This is framed in terms of help with the question. So we look at, marking answers which would just be a word or a part and not the entire sentence. Work on your speech. Dialogues can never be written as an answer. How do you convert the dialogues into, an answer without changing, altering the meaning? The most important is opinionated answers and enhancing an answer. Like, for example, when you see that there are certain places where these kids have, written words, like for example, here it was perfect. This child has written impeccable because in the course of the class, we've learned better words for a particular word. So why not use it even in when you're doing a comprehension? Just because we are doing vocabulary does not mean that it has to be limited only to creative writing. If you know something which would represent a better form of something that is given, so the application should come universally, not when I am asking you, or not when you know, okay, you know what, right now I have to write a story or a composition, so all the good words should only be here. So whatever we are doing in English in the class, it's basically to apply it overall, not when you are asked, or not when, only from an education or an exam point of view. So over here, when we work on framing the answers, we work on adding new elements if we can to an answer, and we work on even opinionated answers wherein the kids understand the story and write the answer on their own. So suppose what this exercise of discussing and doing it together, with every comprehension, their mind opens up in terms of, okay, how do I respond to a particular question? How am I supposed to think if I'm lagging behind in framing an answer or finding the correct content? Because at certain times, the older the kids, right, the more boring or burdensome certain activities are. So some of us tend to read the question first and find the answer later. Some of us tend to skim the passage that, okay, let's pick up the words which are there in the question. Like if it is written Siddharamu decide, they'll try to find where Siddharamu decide is, and that will help them to give them the answer. So doing it together works with the older kids because it helps them to knock off, their easy way out that they normally get dependent on to work with comprehensions. And also when they know that, okay, miss is going to ask, to add some element or to work on some element, then all the more they know they have to be conscious, because every child participates in it. It's not that, okay, there are four kids answering in the batch, so we are happy with only those four kids answering, because the rest will be like, we are getting all ready-made work, so we can just sit. So it does not work that way. Next we have is grammar. Now for grade 6, this is really important. Whatever grammar we are going to be beginning from grade 6 will side by side train you for grade 10 and grade 12. So 10th and 12th, if you walk the HSC route, your grammar will be the same unless you opt for an IG or IB route. So whatever we are doing, A, we will be ahead of whatever you're doing in your school. That's for starters. B, we'll also be training them towards the ninth 10th, because my class caters only till grade 8. So by 8th, you're ready to go and sit for a board exam. So whatever they are doing over here will help them to set their base right till there, because after 7th, no, your grammar is repetitive. It's all the same, it's just practice, practice, practice. So that, I do discuss with the kids in the class, because see what happens is sometimes when you're like, why should I do this because I don't have it in my portion. So when we try to tell the kids that, okay, this is something that you will need then, and this is how your school will deliver it to you, and that will make you stuck, then they kind of understand that, okay, this is where I need to pay attention, because many a times it happens that when we're doing something in class, the kids automatically say that, oh, I was never told this, or we were never, this aspect was never discussed. So that is why the grammar part that we do over here is extremely important. Also, we know when we are doing grammar, we correlate it with our creative writing as well. For example, if how you're using your conjunction, so if I, instead of sticking to only a because, there are several other conjunctions that you use in place of that. How can you mix match the usage of your conjunction in a sentence? So, for example, if I say she was beautiful and she was hardworking. So if I just want to make it better from a grammatical point of view, I can use a correlative conjunction and say she was not only beautiful but also hardworking. So whenever we are doing anything pertaining to grammar, and if there is a direct reference that I can make to creative writing, even in a small way, we'll show them on the spot. Because how many of us actually bother using a not only and a but also when and is giving me the easy way out? But when you show them these little things, they kind of, it piques their interest because they've never been exposed to something like that. They don't think of applying something like that in their regular day to day writing. And all the grammar is done in the worksheet form. They're given worksheets for the same. When the kids are doing the worksheet, I don't help them. After the explanation, the worksheet is on their own ability because I want to see how they are doing on their own. They have to make a mistake for me to correct it. I'm not going to give you a ready made answer because then they'll get dependent. That, okay, if I leave it, she'll write the answer or she'll give me the answer. If they make a mistake, I can show them where you're wrong and how do I, action will always be remembered. Words will always be forgotten. So if you remember there was a cross on something, that will kind of take you back more than me just saying that, okay, no, this is not right, this is correct. If for some reason there are certain grammar topics where I feel that a particular child is not, polished enough or needs more practice, then I will give them worksheets for the same or additional practice. But that does not mean that, say, if you're coming on a Wednesday, that additional practice has to be given to me on Friday. But at least one sheet in 2 weeks would not be, that mind-boggling or burdensome for them to do, so that he or she can naturally grow. The main idea of the class is that the kids have to grow as per their potential, not by seeing their peers or their friends and feeling a little insecure about the fact that, okay, only I am not able to do it and somebody else is able to do it. That's absolutely okay. Our concern is for you to get it right. All right, if you are taking time in that, it's fine. But we use the time wisely so that you're not losing out on understanding a particular concept. Because if at this age something is shaky, it's going to affect your entire, it's like a domino effect from here onwards till your higher standards. The most important part of the class is creative writing. Creative writing is a very untouched territory, at least in our schools. So when we are doing creative writing, this involves using of ideas. So we work with different elements. A is vocabulary, where you're just learning newer words for something basic. B comes the styles of writing. In styles, you have similes, you have idioms, you have personifications, you have many different ways to write. So what happens is that we go through a step-by-step process. Wherein if we are learning a new word, they're given an exercise corresponding to that, wherein they learn how they can apply it on their own. The application is the key over here, because I you'll end up giving them a lot of material, but if you see that they are not using it, it's of no use, it's redundant. So how we go about with this is, now for example, say for hot, they learn the simile that it is as hot as a furnace. Now if I want to make it better, I have learned a better word for hot in my process in the course of the class. So I can convert this by saying that it is as scorching as a furnace. So I'm not only using a vocabulary, but I'm also using a simile, and this kind of helps them to broaden their thought process. But this will come to them on their own. Now, how do we go about with this in class? So, once we are done with the elements, how is it that it makes the kids independent? So, this is the structure. Alice was happy as she won the race. So, this is something I give them. Now, to enhance this is on their head. Either they can only do it by using vocabulary. Alice was exultant as she emerged victorious in the race. So, they are changing these two concepts. Or they go one step ahead. Alice was as jubilant as a bird in flight, that's a simile for happy, as she emerged victorious in the race. Or Alice was over the moon as she grabbed the spotlight and emerged victorious in her race. So by the end of it, there will be three different ways for them to express it. No two kids might have the same way to express a particular topic. But this is what we are looking at. And this is where they will get. How will they reach to this phase comes next. So when we're writing something in the class, we really ensure that everything is done in a video format. We kind of show a video for everything because that way they are taught how to explore their senses. What you see, smell, taste, hear. So when we are writing, say for example, say we've written about a burglary. When you're watching something, you enter the phase about how did this burglary take place. It's not that the robber just came, took everything and ran away. There has to be some way where we talk about the robber's entrance, and then how does it look, what impact does it have when you see a robber, because it's not something we see on everyday daily life basis. When we discuss all that, the writing is done with me. Whatever they write in the class is done with me. Based on the writing, they are taught how to make a dictionary. Dictionary means the easier word is written first, and whatever new words you picked up for it are written next to it. Okay, that's what I show them how to do in class. Now, based on this, they are given a writing assignment, okay, which starts with sentences, then it moves to paragraphs, then it moves to OMO. OMO means on my own. So what happens is, say for example, we did this on a Friday. So for next Wednesday or whenever your following turn is, you will be given a writing assignment which will have us use these words. Like, look, just a sentence wherein they are going to be changing this on their own by using words that we picked up there. Yeah, so if for example we have a class on Wednesday and say your assignment is due next Wednesday. So Wednesday, when the homework is given, they are explained what they have to do. So we advise them that Wednesday and Thursday you read that particular topic from where you are supposed to write, and then maybe a Friday or a Saturday you sit to write that. If, for example, I'm writing and I forget what a particular word is, there's nothing to panic. Go back to reading and do it, but don't copy it directly. Because they're kind of older, they tend to take the easier way out. Of course, I'll figure it out if they are, literally copy pasting it, because in class also, we'll just test that particular topic like that. So we'll automatically come to know how much we are taking in and how much we are just, skirting from top. After this comes in a paragraph form. Now look, whatever vocabulary they are learning, we'll apply it in different elements. It could be a story, it could be a letter. Why we do this is because this helps them to understand that if I've learned something in a composition, doesn't mean I can't use it in a story and a letter. So this helps them to understand and comprehend how they can play with their words. So what happens is, how it is that, okay, if this chapter teaches us this, then that means only when this chapter is asked, I can put this. So in English, we don't do that way. When you're learning something in the class, I show them how we can play about with this scenario. And that's when the kids start learning and playing and applying with their words. They are also encouraged to use all this when we are speaking. So even if hypothetically you know what they are saying, pretend that you don't know what they are saying so that they get a chance to tell you what it means. This kind of boosts their confidence. Then they would want to furthermore impress you or people around them by just throwing words on their spaces. So do that process. And now after that, we come in a story format wherein we merge things together. They are taught different elements, like how can I start with a dialogue, how can I go, like what's a flashback, how can I start something by going to the past and then coming to the future. And so then we explore these different elements, and they're given writing assignments based on that. These writing assignments in the beginning are very important because A, they help them with correct vocabulary usage. B, it helps them to understand that we can use it in any form of writing. C, because it exposes them to different kinds of, like if I'm writing a letter, how can I write a story based on the words from a letter? So their writing assignments are as different like chalk and cheese. So this helps them to understand that okay, whatever I'm writing can help me to throw it in any form of writing. Then comes the OMO. OMO means I might either send you a video, or they'll be given a certain plot, and they have to create something on their own completely from that. No two people will have the same output. And what we also do is, in the batch, all right, we try that five or six best outputs are taken, they're printed and distributed amongst the peers. That kind of encourages them to want to have theirs written. That also encourages them to see that okay, how is it that we all are learning the same thing? How is that person's write up different from mine? What is it that I'm lagging? What is it that I could put and write over here? So these exercises kind of stimulate their entire thought process. So, like for example, here this was a video of a treasure chest. These two kids, they are playing on the beach, and then suddenly they spot a bottle, and the bottle had a map, and it was like a 2 minute video, 1 minute few seconds. Then each of them had an assignment to watch the video and create their own story. So someone started with a dialogue. Some, like she started with a weather starter, like the gargantuan lambent fireball rose climbing over the horizon towards the peak of the sky. So she talks about okay, the sun is rising, it's shining, and it's a pleasant day. These two kids have decided to spend time at the beach. So step by step, what are they doing? She's described the beach, the golden warm sand of caramel color, and the crystal blue water was gleaming in the rays of was an inviting sight. Whatever we picked up, they try to add it over here, and then she's connected with it, that the waves seem to dance happily, and then she spotted this bottle over there, and then how did they land up going ahead? Then somebody else could have a different interpretation. So what I mean to say now here, this child has written about a picnic. Now, this was his own personal experience. So he landed up narrating this in a way that, okay, there was a weather, he's written a weather starter, and then he's talking about how he and his friends were going for this picnic, and their picnic was near an army camp. So, how he's written the weather starter and saying that I was as busy as a bee walking in my living room when the bellows of my comrades reached my ears. Now, this is something we discuss normally, that how do you go to play? So one child said that miss, my friend comes under my building and shouts my name, and then I tell mommy that okay, I'm going to play. So that's what he has written over here. He's like, I was in my living room and my friends shout, they reach my ears. So I was shocked to see them and they invited me. So this is what happens to him in real life. So he's put that in his essay. That okay, this is how I will start, because so we try to have them connect to what they know. Now, if this child discussed this in class, then somebody else who does not follow this will get a new idea that oh yeah, even I can do this. So that is the way we tap into creative writing. Even whatever we do in creative writing, especially the creative writing part, is more significant and important. It will help them throughout their life, whether you're doing an HSC board, whether after HSC you plan to go abroad, or whether you are doing your IBDP or A levels after your 10th standard. This is very important because there is a sudden rise in the way the kids are interpreting themselves rather than mugging and vomiting things on the paper. So whatever they learn is basically going to train them for various entrance exams. They plan to give a CAT, CET, TOEFL, any exam. This will really help them. The only support I need from the parents is that whatever we write in the book, ensure that the child is reading that like a story at least thrice a week. Creative writing cannot be mugged, but if you keep a consistency in reading that one page or maybe that one particular write up, you will see a change in 1 week's time in the way your child is writing. But there'll be gaps, all right? Then you can't expect that one night before I'm going to open and then write this amazing story. Because step by step will help them to tap into their thought process, which they did not even know existed. So that reading bit, I'm not asking any novels or any XYZ books outside because I know they're pressed for time. If they read, there's nothing like it. But the class book should be read. Ideally, every week they'll be given a creative writing topic. It could be a OMO, it could be a vocabulary application. The first few months, 2, 3 months, we work with vocabulary application because they're exposed to so many new things that they have to understand how they can use it. Then we start with OMOs, wherein we play with their thought process and how they are applying that on their own in the write ups. But if so, forcefully they will have to read because they know, okay, this homework is based on this topic. But if they really make it their habit, twice, if not thrice, twice a week sometimes, you'll see a completely different person emerge from your child because they'll be exposed to so many things which they didn't even know exist. Application is really important in the class. If the child knows but the child is not using, it's of no use. So that is what is important. In the class, we also have two exams. One is before Diwali, and one is the second or third week of March. And prior to those open days, okay, now the reading part I've anyway told you, please ensure minimum thrice a week they read. Everything pertaining to the assessment exam, even the revisions, are done in class. There is nothing that you have to sit and do with your child. Nothing. So even if your child is like, not prepared, it does. See, it's a language. I can't study a language and come. Even if I wake you up at 1 in the night and be like, solve this, it has to come naturally. Before I talk to you, I'm not going to refer to a book and be like, okay, I'll use these words in the orientation, not knowing if I go wrong and if I mix up a meaning or something like that. So whatever there is a test or an assessment in class, it will be done in the class. You are not going to be involved in any way to help the child or to teach the child from scratch. If you are absent, because I don't have multiple batches, if you are absent, I will send you the recording of that particular day and say the material through a friend. If not, the next class you come, I'll give you the material. Let the child watch the recording. If something is not clear, it's fine. It'll come back to me. I will ensure that the child is clear with the concept, but it won't. It might not be like Wednesday I have had the class and then you're absent and then Friday I've explained that. It depends on how we're going in the flow of the class topics as well. So that is something that I will look into. Any homework they're given, please don't help them. Don't have any outside source also help them because then what will happen, will toy with the way they're learning or understanding something. For some reason, if say they couldn't do the homework, it's fine. But I would ideally encourage them to give it in the next class. I'm not going to tell them this on the first day of class, but I'm telling that to you so that I don't want it to be like really overwhelming. Because if I tell them that it's okay if you don't do it on Wednesday, give it to me on Friday, then majority will give it to me only on that Friday. So I'm not very lenient where homework is concerned. Even if you have informed me that okay, for XYZ reason the homework was not done, by default you'll get a message that today so and so has not done the homework. It's not a complaint, it's just for you to be aware that okay, you know what, this happened. So that is a default setting on my phone. Like I can't block that or cancel that out. So even if you've messaged me, it'll go to you. And also, uh, if there is something that the child troubles you, like I don't want to read, and or if they're not reading, see, moms are always taken for granted. You just drop me a message whenever the class is. I'll tell you that okay, 1 hour or half an hour before, drop the child and let the child read outside itself. No one wants to come to an education center for more than the time that they have to. Yeah, so we'll try working in a way that we awaken this part in them, because if they don't start now, it becomes really difficult and it's a very expensive mistake to make, in the higher grades or even when your future is concerned. Let's face it, these little things are not trained now. They're thrown into it and then they have to grow as per how they grow. So anything that involves where they're a little difficult, please bring it to my notice. I will take the responsibility of being the bad person over here. and kind of help them that okay, this is something you have to do to get into sync with the topic. If there is anything that you would want to know apart from whatever we have discussed, then you can please share it with me. I can guide you your way towards it. Anything, any questions? Even if you think about it later, you can obviously
Or
message me.
what timing? May I ask you how many students are there with this
There'll be
batch?
15 kids in each
Okay,
batch. So
okay.
you're all in different batches. Like, you are a morning school, so you come in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They come home by 4, so they are a different batch.
Okay.
That. Yes.
Existing
So
students.
even if they are my existing students in creative writing, what we do is just because they've learned something in grade 5, it's not stumped over there. We carry that forward and add more elements to it. So if you are learning, yeah. So then what happens is, say if you are learning 10 new things, the child has done 5 and there are 5 more. The 5 more are not going to be given to you in one shot. Okay, also my kids will be coming back after a gap of 2 months because June to March and then June again. We bring those dead topics back and slowly, one at a time, we keep adding the elements. So it's not burdensome for the new kids to go like, oh my god. And because every week we are practicing a writing thing, they start getting familiar with the words in no time. It's not a task. Like, even if 1 month they be like, okay, this month I'm going to focus only on two new words. They won't know, they will not need a month technically. 2 weeks they'll be focusing on the two new words, and then more and more. So even in the class when we're doing something, these things are taken care of. And you never know. Some many a times new kids can overtake an old student. It really, that's why I say it really depends on if they are really reading, because the older ones get confident, overconfident at some point, whereas the newer ones get hungry. So that works to their advantage, and you never know the creativity of a child because it doesn't seem to be tapped in a way it should, be tapped. So that's something also that, so you don't have to worry that the child, even in grammar, please don't worry that okay, is there a topic done? Whatever is relevant in terms of what you should be knowing is going to be done. The child is not going to be left alone or lost in the process of okay, mama, they did it last year, I don't know. No, that awkwardness and that uncomfortableness is not going to be the case of it.
Okay, ma'am. The word which you showed us at the starting and the beginning, that in comprehension you can change the word. Is that applicable in school
It's
and
applicable in
in boards
ICSE boards.
correction?
Yes, it's applicable in the boards. But also see when we do something in terms of even creative writing. Say for example, if I know happy is elated, just giving you a update. If I have a teacher who's not very vocabulary friendly,
Correct.
see, I always tell the kids, understand your teacher and use. If I know happy is elated, then I become the master of knowing how to manipulate my words. If she is not understanding, say, what this means, then if I know the difficult version, I can just tell her the easy version and give. The point is that the power starts resting in the child's hand, not
So,
in.
but like in comprehension, what I understand is you're not supposed to change the words which are given in the
So
comprehension.
actually, you have to do that in your boards.
So that's in boards
Yeah,
it's
in
allowed.
boards, what happens is you have to frame it on your own. You're not allowed to copy paste.
Yeah, we can frame it, but can we change the
Of
vocab?
course, of
Yeah.
course, you can change the vocabulary. So
Okay.
even so for example, when you have Prezi writing, that's in the
Yeah.
boards, not now.
Correct.
So I'll have to change everything in terms of that to fit it in that 50 words. Because you
Correct.
have to explain in 50 words.
Correct.
The thing is that schools wait till the 10th to do that. It's too late for them.
So you'll be doing in sixth standard
So
Prezi
that is
writing?
why we, no, no, no. As in when you talk about that is an eighth. But when you talk about, as you said in comprehensions, can I do that? We do it in the class so that the kids get into the habit of it now rather than waiting 4 years
For
later
higher
and then
standard.
already having the stress of so many others. See, English is neglected then. Then you don't have time to be,
Agree.
you are
Agree.
running from one tuition to the other. Let's face it. So
Right.
at least by then they will know how to go about with this. Right now, the comprehension that we'll be doing will be a little bit more, higher and posher than what you all do. Because technically, your school is very slow.
Yeah.
So, they will definitely be exposed to a different
Level.
ball game altogether. And when we are doing it, we do encourage that if they want to use it in the class, they have all the permission. But if your teacher is not okay with in the school, don't do it in the school. But at have the freedom to, play with the language and grow in their language skills. That way.
So all the children will be from the same school, like.
So normally 9 to 4 schools come in one batch, 7 to 12 schools come in another batch. So that way, like in your batch, there are ABMIs, but there are JNS also, there's JML also, because you're all 9 to 4. That way.
Okay.
It goes that way. But a majority of kids in your batch are old kids. I guess you all are the only
A new
new
alien
ones.
ones.
Yeah, I guess you all are the only ones.